Aum Sairam. Hara Hara Shankara, Jaya Jaya Shankara. Episode 14. Shri Mahaswami-The Sage with Eyes of Light. The Diary of a Seeker of Truth. Dr.Serge Demetrian. Dear devotees, now we shall listen to the second part of this divine book under the subtitle The Pilgrim's House. Madras, Sunday, 10th May 1970. Shri Shankara Jayanti. In the shrine room of Adi Shankara, in the house where I live, after recitations and songs, Professor T.M.P. Mahadevan, the master of the house, started to speak in Tamil about Shankara Avatara, the incarnation of Shankara, the great Acharya. The discourse started at 11:50 a.m. and continued up to 12:30. Traditionally, the great sage was born at noon. I am beside the professor in order to do the recording on a tape recorder, but with difficulty. At noon exactly, there took place a fantastic inward plunge. A cloud of light shoots up from my heart, invades the head, and wipes out completely the sense of body and mind. For a few hours, I could not remember my body or retake possession of it. It was functioning alone. I cannot comprehend who caused this immersion. I understood now how the accomplished aspirants of the truth lived and why they are so calm and so efficient at the same time. All their worries have been burned up and they do not fall anymore into the control of their body, their mind, their life. In the afternoon, there was a superb discourse in English, also by the professor. It was Adi Shankara as seen by his disciples. The accent was on Shankara, the Loka Guru, Shankara, the Guru of the world, known, as he declared, in every country, celebrated all over the world. And so it should be, as the importance of the great sage is such that he should be known all over the world. The professor was vibrating with fervor. He was so sincere that it was impossible not to believe him. It seemed to me that such voices should be more numerous and spread out in time and space. Nevertheless, Adi Shankara should want it if it is to happen. I was reminded of a talk delivered also by the professor and where he started like this. During the times of Adi Shankara, the general situation in India was similar to that prevailing in the world of our times. Madras, Friday, 15th May 1970. A force incredibly strong. Today, while alone, there occurred one of the most important experiences since I came to India. Indeed, it was not in vain that I wanted to go to Kanchipuram the day before yesterday, asking for the permission as I always did. The professor opposed it with irrelevant arguments, saying that it is not convenient to call upon Sri Mahaswami. One should not trouble him and make him come outside. I am slightly astonished. Who can trouble a Pratyaksha Devata? Are we not the children of God, created by Him in order to know Him? As if one could envisage going to Kanchipuram and effectively doing it by a will other than God's. I swallowed it and I gave up the idea to travel to Kanchipuram. At home, on the contrary, it was Sri Mahaswami himself who was waiting for me. Today, the succession of events was the same as that of the 25th December 1969, the last Jayanti of Sri Ramana Maharishi. A force incredibly strong burst up in my heart without any apparent reason. We are inhabited by such powerful energies. Better to leave everything at the feet of the Guru. This sort of force torrent is impossible to control. For this time, the energy under the aspect of a luminous azure cloud established a bridge between me and an ocean of light, the ocean of infinite light. But at the same time, it made itself heard, issuing, I do not know from where, an inaudible voice that like thunder rumbled from inside throughout my body. A great word, a word of power and of truth. This time it was Tattvamasi. For the rest of the day, I could not do any work. In the afternoon, I slept without resting, which is common when I try to sleep during the day. In the evening, at one moment, I was certain that my chest exploded out of pain and the heart of flesh was replaced by a white flower, probably the famous lotus of the heart. I have not been able to count the petals. Traditionally, they should have been 12. As usual, I stayed normal and my social and intellectual performances did not suffer because of all these experiences. At the university, my work seemed satisfactory. I continuously observe myself with all attention, ready to react at the slightest sign of nervous troubles or peculiar behavior. Kanchipuram, Thursday, 4th June 1970. Floating higher and higher. Today being Thursday, Guruvara, the day of the Guru, I want to go to Kanchipuram. This time I could leave only after a very firm exchange of words with the professor from whom I usually ask permission before leaving. I had the feeling that he exaggerates in forbidding me the journey to Kanchipuram, where I am received with love and fervor. The arrival was at 6:30 a.m. Once in town, I became aware of the spiritual atmosphere, a light air with a fresh smell from the mountains, easy to breathe and nourishing to the heart. While going towards the mutt, I was feeling better and better, but there I was told that Sri Mahaswami is still at the chowtry. I start for the pilgrim's house, floating higher and higher, and I reach by 9:45 a.m. The officer of the director, C.V. Kannaya Chetty, the sympathetic moustache bearer who has helped me so much up to now. I express my wish and he thinks aloud. Tomorrow, being Friday, it will be crowded. Better to try for a darshan today. If I am accepted, I reply, I will have to go to the hotel first and change as I have just arrived from Madras. Why did I not think of changing on the spot? My friend leaves, although an interior voice was sending several positive signs concerning my next step. I wait with some anxiety. The professor at Madras has frightened me. You go, but do not be astonished if you are not received. Finally, Mr. Chetty returns. Sri Mahaswami could have received you immediately, but knowing that you are not prepared, he has fixed you darshan for tomorrow morning by 7 a.m. Mr. Chetty was already sympathetic to me, but from that moment I started loving him. Gradually we became friends. He is short, rather paunchy, around 50 years old, thick black moustache. He has the square head of a man of confidence and less talk, which is a rare occurrence. In addition, he is energetic. That is extremely rare in this part of the world. He is the descendant of 5 generations of generous business persons who throughout the last 2 centuries have been supporters and benefactors of the mutt of Kanchipuram. My night has been peaceful, which happens infrequently when I am not in Kanchipuram. Kanchipuram, Friday, 5th June 1970. Darshan in silence. At the hotel, I wash and dress quickly in the morning as I was somewhat late. At around 6:40 a.m., I felt an immense luminous presence in the room. For a few minutes I stood almost paralyzed, frozen on the spot, my head towards the place where I was supposed to meet Sri Mahaswami. I was unable to move until this wave, which has come by itself, retired slowly also by itself. I reached the Chowdhury exactly by 7 a.m. It is strange how the doubts still raise their head. And if Sri Mahaswami has changed his mind, but I know that is not his habit. I am received in a friendly manner by Mr. Kannaya Chetty, who asks me to wait. He will inform Sri Mahaswami about my arrival. I am waiting in a condition of upliftment that does not usually come from me. Otherwise, I would produce it more often, especially when I am desperately short of it. For the time being, I endeavor to repeat the Mahavakya that predominates nowadays, or the name of Adi Shankara. After 15 minutes, a servant girl, then someone else enters running. Sri Mahaswami will come out for me in the customary garden yard, that ground covered with fine sand and where coconut trees grow leafy enough as to give shade. I quickly go to the same place as last time and stand in such a way as to see him as soon as he appears. Walking through the covered corridor and then through the yard, he will have to cover almost 40 meters. I try to concentrate as much as possible. A few thoughts of fear still linger. From where do they still come up? How could he be anything other than God? I start becoming more peaceful. Now I am completely at peace. In the small courtyard lit by the sun, a purer air emanates from where Sri Mahaswami should appear. Mr. Chetty arrives and removes twigs and leaves from the soil on the veranda by which he will pass. Sri Mahaswami appears finally. By gesture, he passes some orders behind himself, then enters the veranda. As often, he walks like in a dream, but very straight, gracious, and firm at the same time. He approaches me. His contours do not seem clear to me. He has a diaphanous consistence. I could penetrate it with a finger. Just as one would be able to go through a seemingly dense cloud, and yet he wears his dark ochre robe, keeps his danda under the left arm and the water vessel in his right hand. Legs and arms are very beautiful for a person of 76 years. His face might show his age, but from what his features express, one could not decide if he is young or old. Actually, he appears as he wants. He is almost blind, but in the place of the eyes, two vaguely round windows open towards an interior ocean of calm and soft light, slightly bluish. From these openings, I feel there springs out a sort of fog that absorbs my own eyes like a funnel of light. As he moves nearer, a bridge comes up between him and me. Now, he is less than 3 meters away. I withdraw, but only a little, as I remember that he does not see with his physical eyes beyond this distance. While continuing to fix my eyes, he takes a short stride on his left, brings the water vessel up to his chest in a gesture full of modesty and sweetness, while he bends his head a little as he was greeting me and was asking to be excused as he did not want to frighten me. He had perceived surely the fears that have raged in my heart before the darshan, and he did not want to alarm me any more. I am waiting hands in Anjali. As now he wants to sit, he squats at the root of a coconut tree, with a surprising ease for his age on a small mat brought by one of his 4 assistants. He leans against the trunk on which a tiny wooden plank has been placed. I deposit in front of him a small basket of yellow flowers, prostrate and stand up at some 3 meters away. All of a sudden, I became a kind of indifferent observer located in the cold framework of a body that had become an almost foreign, unmoving puppet, the witness of myself, witness of this being of flesh and thought, commonly known as Demetrian. One can still notice how this body, this one, desperately offers itself through his eyes to the eyes of Sri Mahaswami, while silently repeating a Mahavakya. How much time did pass? A few minutes perhaps? This time Sri Mahaswami's look remained unchanged. This one feels as if it was being rummaged through by a current that does not know any obstacle. This body stood frozen. While staring at it, Sri Mahaswami's lips have muttered something, once or twice. At a definite moment, the certitude arises that Sri Mahaswami comes nearer, even nearer. Moreover, Sri Mahaswami's eyes touch the mind that had become as transparent glass in this transfixed body. A few seconds, 2 or 3, perhaps more, only a dense cloud or a silvery light water was perceivable. When the consciousness of the eye came back from very far, I perceived only blurred shades of the 4 assistants, 2 each side of Sri Mahaswami. The darshan neared its end. I prostrated once again, the departure salute. Nobody had whispered a word, neither the assistants nor Mr. Chetty, who stood slightly farther behind me. Sri Mahaswami nimbly got up. Before turning to leave, he looked once again straight in my eyes. What a being! One would not believe that such a man could exist. Yet he is there. He exists. He starts to move away slowly, feeling his way along with the foot to where he thought was the threshold of a higher inner platform. I follow him with the eyes along the exterior corridor. He disappears on the left side behind the wall after showing his assistants that they should not follow him. The assistants had been very considerate towards me and up to the last moment had avoided coming between us while I followed him with the eyes. Deeply moved, I collect a few grains of sand from the place he had just left at the root of the coconut tree. Mr. Kannaya Chetty comes nearer and we start going, without a word, towards the large building on the street, where at the ground floor my friend has his office. I take rest for a few minutes in a condition of elevation where thought has little place. I had not yet come back to normality as someone arrives from the chowtry. Sri Mahaswami is calling Mr. Chetty. I stay back, keeping safe the sand in a small bag, and I am waiting. Happy, calm ideas come in. What a joy for the people who are permitted to live day and night in Sri Mahaswami's immediate vicinity. And others, I know at least one, but I will not name him, fallen as by a parachute from far off lands, can meet Swamiji only now and then, and with how much difficulty. Still, neither my friend nor his family seem too much impressed by the favor that destiny has granted to them. After a short time, Mr. Chetty comes back, accompanied by 2 assistants. Sri Mahaswami is in the courtyard where I saw him disappear, and he wants to know what are my intentions. He has seen you several times. He wants to know what are your needs and how you sustain yourself, how long you will stay in India. My friend takes a paper and gets ready to note down everything. After a moment of hesitation, I understand that I have to give a resume of my life story from the age of 17 in the same way I had done it almost 2 years ago at the time of the first encounter at Secunderabad. Mr. Chetty writes everything with the care of a schoolboy. I finish my stating that I am not interested in anything else than in the fourth aim of the Purusharthas, that is moksha, the final liberation. I do not insist on my health or money problems, my difficulties with the heat of the Indian summer, and so on. So much, I am sure. He knows all this. Can he not walk through my heart and my mind as he likes? In addition, I take him as a witness of all my words and gestures. I mention in conclusion that an Indian astrologer, amateur but talented, I recently consulted following the local habits and pushed by my friends, said that I would be destined for a life of spiritual research. Mr. Chetty called me to come this evening as he will type my statement and will show it to Sri Mahaswami. Before we part, he informs me that this morning by 7:10 a.m. when he went to Sri Mahaswami in order to announce my arrival, Sri Mahaswami asked him, "Is he not waiting since half an hour?" It was the precise moment where at the hotel from 6:40 a.m. I was experiencing that immense luminous presence. In the afternoon, towards 4 p.m., I went to visit the area of the railway station. I crossed a few traditional streets, a labyrinth of low shabby houses, the verandas crammed and packed next to one another. In the lanes and by-lanes, children and more children were jumping joyously among calves, fowl and dogs. The elder boys were playing cricket, an English influence surely, without being troubled by the smell of the open drains for used water. The adults seemed poor but not miserable. None had a somber or malicious face. I have discovered the temple of Mukteshwara, Shiva, the Lord of the Mukta, those who are liberated in their lifetime. It is a small temple with only an open veranda and the inner sanctum, that is, the place where resides a gigantic Shivalinga cut in 16 angles. In the interior and the exterior, there are very suggestive sculptures in soft stone, a soapstone, once cream color and probably painted. Round the temple, the atmosphere is spiritual. There is a discreet presence, a pure air, slightly luminous, that I was able to clearly perceive. I walk along to another temple, that of Chitragupta Swami, the only one existing in India, I have been told. The deity is in charge of keeping the records of the good and bad actions of all beings in the three worlds. Definitely a huge folder. I request him to erase, if possible, the results of all my actions, good or less good. According to the sages, in order to reach the ultimate truth, one should be light, totally divested of merits and demerits. In the evening, I went to meet Mr. Kannaya Chetty. He had seen Sri Mahaswami in order to submit to him my statement typed on 2 pages. Although there were many visitors, Sri Mahaswami came out from the room where he was receiving and listened to the reading of my testimony. He smiled, hearing once again that I was preparing my own food, and he asked if the astrologer who had predicted that I will lead a life dedicated only to spiritual research was an Indian. I clarified to my friend that the astrologer was indeed an Indian. Devotees, let us close this episode and shall continue to listen to the second part of Sri Mahaswami, the sage with eyes of light, in the coming episode, bowing at the holy feet of the Gurus. Aum Sairam. Hara Hara Shankara, Jaya Jaya Shankara.